Sorry about that. I was muted. Where'd my thing go? Sorry about that, guys. Hello, everybody, and welcome back to Ape Nation, your number one source for all things Planet of the Apes on YouTube. My name is Josh, and as always, thank you guys for joining me here live tonight. I'm going to be letting you guys know about some updates and things that are in the works for the channel tonight. It's going to be kind of fun. It'll be just a chill conversation, and just letting you know, some of the things that I have in the works for the channel for the next few weeks or months or so, mostly just throughout the summer. And also, I just want to open up the conversation to you guys and, have a little bit of a dialogue about when we might start hear some real legitimate updates on the next Planet of the Apes movie. Before we get started, though, if you like what I do here and want to see more, make sure to hit the like button on this video, subscribe to the channel, and hit the notification bell so that you can stay up to date on all things apes. That being said, let's kind of just dive into stuff here. Let's see. Actually, before I get into the actual announcements and topics I want to cover, I guess we can get some comments here and just start talking about whatever you guys want to talk about. Let me see here. How do I see? There it is. Okay. Um, that's weird. It says that's very weird. Hold on. Oh, that's why. Okay. Should start showing you guys comments now. Let me refresh this. Oh, there. Okay. Sorry, guys. None of your comments were popping up. Now I see all of them. Okay. Um. Okay. Oh, there we go. First comment from Larry. Any update on the Josh Movie Talk channel? Yeah, I actually do have an update. The update is I am still trying to figure out what I want to do, and honestly, I'm starting to go back and forth on whether or not I really want to do it. To be honest, what I think I want to do with a full-on movie channel, I think is just not 100% in the cards for me right now, just because of the time it would take to do it on top of all the other things I have going on in my life, plus this channel. So I do know I did for a minute. I was fairly confident what I wanted my first video to be, and I was planning on doing that, and it was planned to be. I was planning on recording it and putting it together um, sometime like 2 or 3 weeks ago. But then just life got in the way, things happened, and I didn't get around to it. And the time kind of came and went for that video to really be relevant. I might still make it, but I might just push it to another time down the line. That being said, I do want to do it. I've said this a million times. I really have a lot of stuff in the film and movie space and TV too, that I would love to talk about. And I have one specific video that I'm hoping to do that will be kind of the kickstart of the channel. If I have time to do it, I want to do it next week, which would mean I would probably have it done sometime towards the end of next week, if not the week after. But overall, things are still kind of in flux. I was fairly confident I was going to be able to move forward with it fairly soon, but I'm now kind of back and forth. But hopefully it happens soon. If not, just for the time being, Ape Nation is really where my focus is, and I don't want to do anything that would take away from that. So, but I appreciate you, being interested. Um, Next one. Any new movie title ideas? Honestly, no, I don't have any. I think honestly, you guys have pretty much given every single possible option that exists in all the hundreds of comment suggestions I've seen from you, plus the video I made when I thought of a title. And really, the thing is, we still don't know really much more about the story now than we did a year ago. We know a little couple things here and there. We have ideas about where Wes and the team want to go, but we don't have any hard decisions made. So it's kind of hard to guess a title at this point. But you know, we can always just keep guessing, and maybe we'll get right at some point. But we'll see. Um, Will Hittinger, did you hear about Avengers Doomsday getting delayed to December of next year? Yes, I did, and I'm very happy that it did because if it was going to come out in May, then I have a feeling that would have ended up being a really big rushed mess that would have probably been a bad movie. Um, as it stands, I'm mildly excited for it. I'm not super stoked to see it, to be honest with you. I'm actually a lot more excited for um, pretty much all the other Marvel movies coming before and after. I'm more excited for the Spider-Man, Brand New Day, I think it's called, Fantastic Four, and the X-Men. But the Avengers movies right now they just don't seem like they're earned. But I love what the Russos did with the last two, and I think they have a lot, at least potentially there for something really great. So we'll see. Another one from Larry, Beneath the Planet of the Apes cult classic video, and I may give it another watch because I hated it when I first saw it, and also I thought it was funny you took a stab at Rob Zombie Halloween 2. Yeah, I try not to trash talk movies too much, but I really, really do not like that movie at all. But yeah, if I definitely say give it another watch. Beneath the Planet of the Apes is a movie that I have had a bit of a journey with. I actually feel even differently now than when I first did my review of it back last February, I think. I've really grown to appreciate that movie. I really have. And kind of similarly, for a reason that I really appreciate Kingdom of the Planet of the Apes, is that it's the only one of the only other movies where I just get to spend time in that kind of original Planet of the Apes world, the aesthetic that it created. None of the other movies have that, and so that's one of the major elements for me, just the world that you get to live in for a bit. And it's also, and this is maybe just part of it for me personally, but because it's the one I rewatched the least growing up, going back and watching it now every once in a while, it feels a bit more fresh because it's not one of the movies that I have like memorized to a T in my head the way I do like the original or Dawn or War. So, but yeah, I definitely say go back and rewatch it. I think I'm not one of the people that like think it's like this beloved masterpiece or a genius movie, but I've grown to really appreciate it a lot more now than I used to. So, next one from Hockey Town 25. Would you have liked to see some real closure with Will and Caesar given the love they had for each other? Um, Honestly, I'm fine leaving it where it was left off. I think the final scene between them in Rise was a perfect send off for them as a father son, duo, if you will. So I don't really need any more than what we got. And also, like the scene with Caesar watching footage of Will in Dawn was also kind of a bit of closure, like kind of additional closure to that chapter of his life. So I don't need anything else to be honest. Basil Carlo, hey man, love your channel. Thank you very much. And your content. One of the things I would love to see in a Kingdom of the Planet of the Apes sequel is a human character like Woody in War. It doesn't necessarily have to be a militia. Um, I've I want to do a video about who I think the villain in the next movie is going to be. I don't want to do it right now just because I'm trying to take a break from, Kingdom and Kingdom sequel coverage just because I feel like I've done a lot of it in the last few months, especially. So I'm taking a little break from that stuff right now. But I do heavily suspect we're going to get a human villain in the next movie. I don't know if it's going to be Deacon Lockman's character or some new character, but I do think a character maybe not as hardcore and as militant as Woody Harrelson's character, but something along the lines I could see possible and happening in the next movie. So we'll see. But yeah, I totally, I'm with you. From Brandon Rakowski. Hey Josh, what's up? I don't comment often, but I'm happy that there's a dedicated channel to Planet of the Apes. Side tangent, how do you feel about fan edits of the original series? I actually have never seen a fan edit of the original series. Well, it depends on what you mean by fan edits, because fan edits can mean different things depending on who you ask. If you're talking about like recuts of the original movies, like the Phantom edit type thing, like with Star Wars, then I haven't seen any. I'd be open to if you're talking about it. If you mean just like little on like YouTube videos, like little edits of the movies, then I mean they're cool. I've seen a few here and there. They're cool, but yeah. Um, Bookworm Dazzle. First things first. Hello to you too, Bookworm Dazzle, and also love your Proximus shirt. Thank you very much. It's a really actually I'll remove this so you can see it better. It's a shirt that my parents got me for Christmas last year. So shout out to them. It was a really nice gift. Um, and cool tattoo. Thank you. This is a Spider-Man tattoo that my friend Cal designed for me, and I'm very thankful for him. Um, let me see. Fine, I'll address this one just because you brought it up earlier. Larry, also Josh, I love Rob Zombie's Halloween 2. It's in my top three favorite Halloween movies. You know, I'm happy for you, Larry. I really am. And that's all I have to say about that. You know what? I'll say this, and to someone, if you're a fan of Halloween and you take offense to what I'm about to say, that's fine. Because this is a very hot take. Halloween Ends is in my top three Halloween movies, and I know that's a highly hated movie, just like Rob Zombie's Halloween 2 is. So there you go. Um, okay, here's one. Um, I would like to see more good views on the human sides of the movie's stories, more character development, and conversations between the apes and humans. I would too. I think the ape and human dynamic is going to play a major role in the next movie. I mean, not just think. I mean, we kind of know at this point. Um, but that's one of the things. I know that's something that some people aren't excited about. Some people are kind of like, oh, they don't want to see more human ape stuff. They want to move on from it. The human and ape dynamic is a fundamental part of the Planet of the Apes franchise. It's always been there. It's always going to be there. You might get some movies that are heavier on apes and light on humans, like Kingdom, but that is always going to be a part of the franchise. It's a key core essential of what the Planet of the Apes universe has always been. So I'm just like you. I'm looking forward to seeing more of that human and ape interaction explored. Um, Sure. Aztec Dragon, are you ready for Jurassic World Rebirth? I gotta be honest with you. I checked out of this franchise like four movies ago. I think the original Jurassic Park is a masterpiece. It's one of my favorite movies of all time. Have not liked a single movie outside of that one. Just not a fan of the franchise. I thought Jurassic World was boring. I thought Fallen Kingdom was the most interesting of the bunch. I thought it was cool with some of the stuff they were doing. I just didn't think it was a good movie. Some really well. I love J.A. Bayona as a great director, and some of the horror sequences in that are fantastic. But the movie as a whole just was really poorly written to me. And then I didn't even finish the last one. I turned it off like an hour and a half in. I was like, I just it wasn't for me. So honestly, even with Gareth Edwards coming on board this one, it just looks like the same old stuff. So I'm probably not going to see this one. I might catch it on streaming at some point, but it's not for me. Um, Another one from Larry. Would you like to have seen the original sequel idea for the original Planet of the Apes, Planet of the Men, or are you happy with what you got? You know what? I have thought about this a lot, probably more often than most people do, honestly. Um, but yeah, actually, I think it would have been cool. I think it would have been a really cool sequel. I don't think they would have been able to pull it off with the budget and the kind of scale of what movies could be back then. I think that's more of like a, maybe something they could have done and done more successfully like 20 years or 30 years later. But as it stands, I like what we got with Beneath, but I do think what Planet of the Men could have been would have been really fun. I think it could have been a lot of exciting things in that movie. In some ways, I could see it being a little cliche, but at least at the time it would have come out, I think it would have been awesome. So I would have been all for it. I actually, from what I remember, and I don't know if I'm 100% right on this. I might look it up, but I think there was a TV show in development that was going to follow the script of Planet of the Men. I don't know how that was going to work, like in terms of like what continuity it was going to be in, but I think that was going to be a TV series at some point. So I don't know if it was or wasn't at any point, but that is something that I would have always liked to see, like a comic or a novel or like some kind of what if of how it could have been. So, and actually, speaking of Planet of the Men, I don't know when this is going to happen or even if it's going to happen, but something I really want to do, and I'll give a lot more details when if I ever do this and I announce it. I would love to do like a full on like audio drama with like sound effects and music and voice acting and everything, just reading the entire script of Planet of the Men and putting up like visuals and stuff, like little storyboards and stuff on the video and make a whole like 2 hour thing. I think that'd be really, really cool. I don't know if I'll ever get to do it, but that's something I would really, really love to do. So yeah. Um, Ryan Keefe. I can't go as far as to say I like Beneath, but I can appreciate the ending, although the next movie kind of undoes the finality of it. Yeah, I agree. I mean, I don't know if it necessarily undoes the finality of it. I mean, it undoes the finality of the franchise just by nature of there being another movie, but I don't think it necessarily undoes the finality. I mean, the Earth blows up. I mean, there's no stopping that. That does happen eventually, regardless of anything else. But um, yeah, I really appreciate that ending. It's very dark and it's very you know, not what you get from these types of movies. And it is by far the darkest ending of any film in the Apes franchise. So, but yeah, I definitely appreciate it, just like you. From Brandon Rakowski, Beneath is better watched to start a marathon of the sequels, but looks poor watching immediately after the original film. I can see that. I can definitely see that. It definitely doesn't hold a candle to the original film. I mean, it's a big step down just overall in terms of filmmaking quality. Brent is nowhere near as interesting as Taylor. The story isn't anywhere near as captivating. Some of the mystery is a bit gone. So it's definitely a step down going right from the first one to the second one. But I think you can still enjoy it going right into it. From Bookworm Dazzle, do you feel like the trilogy ending in nuclear warfare feels too dramatic or very boom and they all die to the end? I was wary at first, but I'm warming up to the idea. It depends on how it's done. I think if it's earned and it makes sense and it's a way in which it is like dramatically relevant and interesting and well done, then I'm all for it. As long as it doesn't feel like it's out of nowhere and it's like this, third act plot device that's introduced in the third movie that just kind of happens, then, depending on how it's done, then no, I don't think that would be good. But I think as long as it makes sense in the story they're telling, and I think there's a way that it can make sense so far with what we've seen, but we still have two more movies to go. I think the second movie will tell us a lot about where the third movie's going. So we'll see. Then again, Dawn necessarily didn't tell us a whole lot about where war was going. In some ways it did, but in some ways it didn't. So you never know. From See You Later Boy, just want to say I'm grateful you started this channel and had this community form. Having watch parties and discussions, sharing the artwork in the Discord has been so fun. I'm very happy to hear that. Thank you. And yeah, I've seen you guys having your watch parties. I wish I could join for all of them. I just don't have the time, unfortunately. But yeah, and speaking of watch parties, that's something I'm going to talk about in a little bit. Um, about when I get to talking about some of these announcements. Actually, I think I might actually get to that in just a minute, but I'll get a couple more comments here. But yeah, I'm really grateful that you guys are enjoying the community. I'm happy to be a part of it. Just even I don't consider myself like the leader or anything or like the starter of this community. I just have always been a giant Planet of the Apes fan, and I wanted to start a YouTube channel talking about it because no one else was doing it, and it led to a bunch of you guys who also enjoy these movies as much as I do, talking about them just as much as I do as well. So I'm really thankful for all you guys who continue to comment and like and watch my videos and join me on live streams and all that stuff. So thank you. Um, Ineffable. Do you think that Planet of the Apes will eventually shift towards animation and voice actors as animation gets rendered more realistic? That's a good question. I've never really thought about it, but it's possible. I mean, what they're doing with like very hyper real animated stuff nowadays is stuff that 10 years from now could might as well be a CGI live action, like a CGI film that's meant to look live action. So it's totally possible. I do think you miss an element of the performance capture when you or of the performance if you don't get that performance capture in there. So as long as that's still retained, I'd be cool with it. But I think we still have a ways to go before we get to that being the case. And also like fully animated films that are on that level, they're expensive. You can't make them for $50 million. It's not like it would get cheaper. So it all depends on the state of the industry, where things go in the next few years. But yeah, I think it's possible. Um, Will Hittinger, do you like Family Guy? I used to love Family Guy. I haven't watched a new episode in probably 7 or 8 years, I think. I genuinely cannot tell you the last season I tuned in for. Maybe like 13 or 12 or something like that. I think they're on like season 20 by now. So I enjoy Family Guy. I grew up with Family Guy when it was like in its heyday. So that was like the best of the best for me. Like the Star Wars parodies and the Stewie kills Lois stuff and all that kind of era of Family Guy was like the best to me. But I've seen clips and stuff from what has released in the last few years, and some of it's funny. So I might go back and try to watch um, some more of the new stuff. Um, Brandon Rakowski. I mean, full re-edits. I am beginning to work on one that would combine Planet of the Apes and Beneath. That would be cool. I would watch that. I haven't really, I don't post these or anything, but I actually, for fun, maybe like a couple months ago, I edited the ending of the original movie into the intro of Beneath, just to see how I can make them flow together. I never like actually sat down and watched the whole thing to see how it works, but I did do that. So I don't know what else you plan on doing to it, but that'd be cool if you want to share that. I don't know where you plan on sharing that. If you want, I can share it with the channel at some point if you ever get around to finishing it. But that'd be cool. Yeah, I'd be up for that. Um, I'll do one more, and then I'm gonna get into some of this stuff I have for you guys here. Oh, actually, I have a super chat. That's perfect. I'll end with that. Um, God of Chaos sends a super chat. Thank you so much. Really appreciate it. Have you ever seen the comic with King Kong on Planet of the Apes? I am split on it, but I still own it. I have not. I have not read it. I've heard of it. From what I've heard, it's pretty fun. It's I've heard of a lot of those different Planet of the Apes crossover comics. I've never read any. To be honest, I haven't. Crossovers just aren't a thing that really appeals to me. To be completely honest with you, but if there's any crossover that could work with Planet of the Apes, it's probably King Kong, and that's one that I'd probably be kind of interested in checking out. So if you guys want, that could be one. I do want to do comic coverage at some point. I don't know when I'm going to do it. I'm hoping to do at least some of it sometime this summer, um, at least in a very basic sense. But if you guys want, that can be definitely one of the ones that I look into. Um, okay. Okay. So with all that down, I'm going to take a sip of water real quick. Um, but I'm going to get into some of the stuff that I have coming out on the channel this summer. So the first thing that actually, you know what? I'll start with what the video I have coming out this week, because that'll be out on Friday. And it is already recorded. It's mostly edited. I have it mostly done. And that would be, oh, is it going to let me do it? Let's see. Okay. Nope, that's not it. Okay. So this is the video coming out this Friday. I'm going to be doing a full fan cast of the original Planet of the Apes movie. I'm going to be giving my choices for actors who I think would have made good iteration, a good casting choice for the main actor, the main characters in the original movie. I have some other stuff about it as well, but really just going into who I think would fit these roles and who some of my choices are, and then ultimately going to my final pick, who I would want to go, and then ultimately ending with a full roster of my fan cast for a potential Planet of the Apes remake. So I think it's going to be a lot of fun. I hope you guys really enjoy it. It'll be out at the end of this week on Friday. And then following all that, something that a lot of you guys have asked me about for probably a year at this point is, will I ever do what if videos? And I went back and forth on this for a very long time, and it's something that I originally was kind of resistant towards, and then I kind of warmed up to the idea, and then I had my first idea of what I want to do, and so I don't know when exactly, but probably sometime in July, most likely in July, if not late June. I'm going to be putting out my first Planet of the Apes what if video, and this is what it's going to be. What if Koba survived in Dawn of the Planet of the Apes? I think this is going to be a really fun one. I know it's one that a few of you suggested. There's a couple others I have in the works, at least potentially as ideas, but I think it's going to be a lot of fun, just talking about all the hypothetical scenarios about where the story could have gone, how the relationship between Caesar and Koba could have shifted and changed and evolved, and what it would have been like had this character survived. So that's something that I plan on doing at some point in the near future, probably in July. So I'm really excited to do that. I think it's gonna be a lot of fun. I hope you guys really enjoy it. And for those who've been asking for it, I hope you guys enjoy it especially. As for some other stuff I'm going to be doing on the channel, so I have two other kind of types of videos that I plan on doing this summer, as well as there's other stuff I do want to do as well. But these are the ones that I am very strongly planning to do specifically this summer. And the first is coverage of the deleted scenes of the Planet of the Apes franchise. So I have started doing a lot of research on this, like watching deleted scenes from throughout the franchise. A lot of this is going to be from the newer films just because there isn't nearly as many deleted scenes in the originals. But I want to take a legitimate dive into the deleted scenes of Rise, Dawn, War, and to a lesser extent Kingdom, because I've already kind of done a deleted scenes video on Kingdom. But I want to do videos on all three of those movies, as well as whatever things were deleted from the original films, and go into what those scenes could have been, how they would have shaped the film, how they would have changed the film, all those kinds of things, analyzing them, what they could have mean in terms of like the canon of everything. So I want to get into those. And then finally, my plan is finally to do a full book review of the original novel by Pierre Boulle of Planet of the Apes, aka The Monkey Planet, as it is originally called. That is going to be happening at some point later in the summer. I don't know, again, I don't know when specifically these things are going to happen, but I'm planning on doing a full-on book review of the original novel. I just ordered it. I don't know when I'm going to get around to reading it. I might even like read it along with the audiobook, just because, you know, it's makes it a little more lively, I think. So we'll see how that goes. But yeah, I'm excited to finally read it. And I know a lot of you have read it as well, and a lot of you have asked me about what my thoughts on it. And also, I want to do not just a review, but then also a compare video and contrast video between the original novel and the original 1968 movie. So I think both those could be a lot of fun, and I'm just excited to get to experience this new version of Planet of the Apes just for myself as a fan, just to see this alternate take, which isn't really an alternate take. It's the original vision of the original creator. So I think it's going to be a lot of fun. So before I get into kind of the opening topic here, I'll get to some other comments before I talk about the Kingdom sequel. Let's see here. Here's a fun one. Larry, what is the worst cinematic dark universe? What is the worst cinematic universe? Dark Universe 2017 or Sony Villain verse? Well, here's the fun thing about that, Larry. I haven't seen a movie from either of them. Well, to be fair, the Dark Universe had one movie and then it died, and then the Sony verse had a bunch of movies that were all, from what I hear, bad. Actually, I take that back. That's not true. I saw the first Venom, and I was not a fan of it. But from what I hear, all the other movies were bad. So I've seen Venom, and I haven't seen any of the other movies in any of these universes. But because I love Spider-Man and because of what I've so far have seen what they've done with that universe, I'm gonna go ahead and say that's the worst one just because it personally bothers me more. Um, from See You Later Boy, you know that you were the Caesar of this channel. Well, I appreciate that. Thank you very much. Um, let me see. From Alex Wilson, Hello Ape Nation. I pray that in the sequel movie that there'll be more scenes of Noah, his friends, Raka, and May working together. Also, May wearing that necklace Noah gave her. Apes together strong. I agree. I think more scenes of Noah and May working together in some way would definitely be exciting, be interesting. I'm very excited to see where their relationship and dynamic overall goes. I think that could be really interesting and definitely has some potential to go in some unexpected directions. What those directions are, I don't know, but I think they've set the stage for some really um, exciting stuff. So we'll see. As for Raka being there, again, jury's still out on if he's going to return. I have a feeling he will. I feel like he's just too strong of a character to not return, and he has that kind of Gandalfness to him. So I think it's a safe bet he'll be back, but we'll see. Um, from Mia Meknomura. I love the fan cast. Thank you. I'm excited for you guys to check it out. I think it'd be a lot of fun. I don't know how you guys are going to feel about some of my picks. Some of them might be a little unexpected and not necessarily who your mind would first go to for some of these characters, but it's really just from my perspective, looking at actors today who I feel would fit these characters, in some sort of reimagined way. Of course, they're not going to be exact. The characters are not going to be written exactly the same way in 1968 as they are today, and so they might not even have the same names. I'm using the names Taylor and Zira and Cornelius and um, Nova and Zayas as like, that's who they are. But if they ever were to do a remake, they might tell this same story, but name some of these characters differently. Like, why would there be another character named Cornelius when we've already had a character kind of given that name as an Easter egg? So, you never know how they might do things. Um, what are these? Mia Mora. What if Planet of the Apes did a Beauty and the Beast thing? Um, I don't know if you could specify what you mean by like Beauty and the Beast thing. That'd be helpful. But I don't know what you mean by like a Beauty and the Beast. If you just mean like a romance story between like you know two people from different places, then as long as it's well written, I'm up for it. Not necessarily, I wouldn't be up for it in like a human ape relationship thing. That I'm not into because that's just no matter how you spin it, that's always going to be weird to me. Apes and humans having a romance is just not a thing that I think they should ever explore. I'm sure at some point they might, flirt with it just for, make shake things up a little bit, but I just don't want to see that. So if that's what you mean, then no, I do not want to see that. Isaiah Jones. If Koba survived, it depends on the situation. If Koba didn't betray Caesar, war would have been more inevitable and worse. I agree with that. I agree with that to an extent. I think if Koba didn't betray Caesar, it just it would have led to a lot of different things, and there's a lot of possibilities there to explore. So that's why I'm really excited to do the what if videos, just for that exact reason, just to uh, really dive into what kind of scenarios. Like, did he survive the fall? Did he survive because he surrendered to Caesar? Did he survive at a different point? There's a tons of different ways you can play around with it. I think I know what angle I'm taking it from, but I'm still playing around with it a little bit. Um, from Matt's. Hey Josh, will you be doing reviews on Dawn and War prequel books, Dawn of the Planet of the Apes Firestorm, and War for the Planet of the Apes Revelations? I do plan on doing them at some point. I might actually just do them as one video and cover them both. Excuse me for a second. Um, but I definitely want to cover both of them. I have Firestorm. I don't have Revelations. So I have to get it first, but I have Firestorm. I haven't read it. I remember I read like the first chapter of it and never finished it a long, long time ago whenever I got it. So I got to go back to it. But yes, but for me, the priority is the original novel just because I feel like that's the important one to get to before any of the others. Um, from Andre Oliveira. What's up, my dude? Forgot you're doing this. I think we're going to get Apes 5 news in August in D23. I actually completely forgot that D23 is in August. And now that you said that, that's actually not a bad guess. I will keep that in mind for in a little bit when I go over the topic we're going to discuss tonight. Which actually, speaking of which, I'm going to hit one more question and then I'm going to dive right into that. And you know what? This is a fun one because actually, you know what? I'll do two more. First one is this one because this is always a fun question. Everyone always has a fun answer. Will Henninger, who's your favorite Batman? For me, this is a very tough question because honestly, it's like a mix of three different actors. It's either Christian Bale, Ben Affleck, or Robert Pattinson. Um, I think for me, Robert Pattinson has the best Batman movie, and his type of Batman is my favorite Batman we've ever seen. I think the heavy on the detective stuff. I love that Batman is the character, Bruce Wayne is the persona, but he hasn't developed that persona yet. So I love all that. I think Pattinson's phenomenal in the role. But physically, Ben Affleck was just phenomenal. I loved his suit. He has by far, I think, my favorite Batman costume that's ever been put on screen. And then Christian Bale, I think, just had the most meat to work with as a character. I just loved what he brought to the table. I thought the writing for his character was fantastic. So I go back and forth. And also it depends on if Batman Part 2 even gets made. So if it doesn't get made and this is the only ever version we get of Pattinson's Batman, um, because I want to see what his Bruce Wayne looks like. But as it stands, I go back and forth between the three of them. And also the thing that sucks about Ben Affleck's Batman is I don't feel like he never got a movie to really shine. So, um, yeah, but I just love what he brought to the table, even though I didn't love the material he was given to work with. All right, final comment that I'm going to address because I thought it was funny. From See You Later Boy, you said The Rock for Taylor, didn't you? No, I didn't. No, I didn't. I don't think any of you are going to be able to guess who I did pick for Taylor because it's not someone I've ever seen suggested for this role, or even this franchise in general. But it's an actor who I think is fantastic. I think a lot of you probably think he's fantastic. He's been in a handful of sci-fi stuff. He's been in a very popular sci-fi franchise. And so I'm very excited for you guys to see my picks, and I'm sure some of you guys will disagree with some of them, and that's fine. But no, I did not pick The Rock for Taylor. I did not pick The Rock for anybody. No shade to The Rock. I enjoy The Rock from time to time. I don't necessarily love a lot of his movie choices as of recently. I'm excited to see The Smashing Machine. I think he looked great in that. But yeah, no, he is not in my fan cast. I promise you that. So, with all that said, now I want to kind of open up the discussion to you guys about when do we expect to see some news, or hear some news rather, for the sequel to Kingdom of the Planet of the Apes. So, I was doing a little bit of not research, just kind of analyzing the situation. And so, I've seen some people get a little, not worried, but I guess concerned is the better word that we haven't heard anything really concrete yet. All we really have is it's being worked on and the studio wants it out in 2027, which really means it'll come out when it comes out. It's a movie that obviously takes a lot of time to make. They also are working on both 2 and 3 at the same time. And so it's there's a lot to be done. And so I understand that, it's going to take a while for them to have any concrete plans to actually announce for us. That being said, I was looking at when Rise came out, there was a lot of questions for the year after that, like when is the sequel coming? We'd heard about the development of a sequel for like almost a full year, and then we'd heard about breakdowns between Fox and Robert Wyatt and how that, didn't necessarily seem like um that was going to happen, and how he wasn't going to come back. There were, scheduling, I don't know, maybe it was like creative differences or whatever it was. And so eventually we got Matt Reeves announced in October 2012. And that was not until a full year and 2 months after Rise had come out. So if a similar situation happens right now, were to happen with the sequel to Kingdom, what would really what that really would entail and mean is that, we'd likely get an announcement sometime in probably June or July, probably closer to July, about what exactly is happening with the next movie and who's going to be directing it. That would fall in the same timeline because the last movie came out last May. 2 months later is this July. So if that followed the same track, you could have a director on board by this summer. They start filming by early next year. The movie's out in 2027, and that's the end of it. That being said, there's no guarantee that that happens. I don't know if we're going to get an official update in July. We might not. And it could be as late as September or October. And it could be, whether, like someone suggested, it could be a part of D23, which someone is actually saying, no strain to saying there's no D23 this year. I don't know if that's true. I actually, I'll look it up and actually see if there's a D23 in 2025. Let's see. Oh, there is. Yeah, D23 is happening August 29th to August 31st in 2025. So, yeah, D23 is happening in August. So that would fall right in line. So that'd be a good place to do it. But if it doesn't happen there, if it doesn't happen at some point in July, maybe it'll happen in like a Disney investors call, as a lot of this news tends to do. They just drop it in a random call for investors. So that would be my guess, if anything. That being said, if we still get to like October, November, end of the year, and we still haven't heard anything, if it's really just been, an occasional quote here and there, that's when I'm going to start getting concerned. That's when I'm going to start going, what's going on here, and why have we not gotten any movement on this movie? I'm not going to be like panicking, but I'm going to be concerned if we don't hear anything legitimate by the end of this year. I don't know if you guys feel the same way, and I'd love to hear your comments if you feel the same way, but that's when I'm going to start, wondering what's up and why there hasn't been any real movement. My guess is we will hear something legitimate by the end of the year. We will have a concrete answer on who's directing it, and at least probably a release window, a planned date. Even if it does eventually move. But I do think that, sometime this summer, end of the summer at least, is the opportune time and the likely time that is going to get announced. If it doesn't get by then, and if it doesn't happen later after that, that's when I'll be concerned. But at the same time, I don't want them to rush this. Wes Ball said that he knows that the studio wants this in 2027, and he's working on Zelda right now, so he's not going to have time to direct this until at the very earliest, you know, next summer, if he's filming and working on Zelda till then, if not later. So I'm not, wanting them to rush this, even if it means, you know, I don't want them to rush and make a mistake and hire a director just to get someone on board and cram a movie out the door. But at the same time, you don't want this to turn into a Batman Part 2 situation where you're just left waiting and wondering what is happening with the movie. Or even worse, with a movie like Blade, which, spoiler alert, that movie is never coming out. So I don't want it to be a situation like that where we're just left wondering what's going on with the movie, because the movie did well. It financially was a success, but it wasn't like a mega hit. So it's like, I would understand either way if Disney was like, this movie did well, but not well enough to invest in another 150, $60 million. But I also understand them going, it's a film that did well enough for us to take another chance and, keep the things going and hope that things improve for the next film financially. So I, could see it going either way. And I just don't want this to turn into a situation where we're waiting forever and ever and ever. And we're not quite there yet. The movie's been out, a year and two, and not even 2 months. The movie's been out for a little over a year at this point. So I don't know how you guys feel about it, but for me, I'm fine where we haven't heard much right now. But again, if we get to a certain point later on in the year, at least, late summer, early fall, and we're still not hearing anything, that's when I'm starting to worry. But we'll see. We'll see. But I want to hear what you guys have to say about the situation. Um, from Larry couldn't can see them potentially getting a different director for it, and especially they could shoot 2 and 3 back to back. I think that's something I suggested in a video a while back is shooting the next 2 movies back to back. I think that is actually a very smart thing that they should do. I think that that's something that would financially, save them a lot of money and be a big, really smart move. And so if they are able to, and they have both scripts locked and they know exactly what they want them to be, and they're able to get 2 and 3 shot back to back in one big thing and then release them like a year or 2 years apart, I'm all for it. I'm completely all for it. Even if it means like pushing the movie back to 2028, but then getting it in 2028 and then 2029 or 2028 and 2030, then I'm all for it. I think that would be a great way to do it. I think it would be a smart investment for a franchise like this. And also, it would mean we would just get 2 movies guaranteed to be coming up on the horizon, and we'd get them within 2 years of each other. So I think it's a win-win either way. So yeah, I'd be all for it. But it all depends on who's directing it, what the story is, how far in advance have they planned everything out. So we'll see. From Isaiah Jones, I would be concerned if we have not heard anything in 3 years. Well, if we haven't heard it, so that would be what, 2027? So yeah, if we haven't heard anything by 2027, then I would just assume that the movie is canceled at that point, to be honest with you. Because if we get to 2027 and there's still no movement, then yeah, the movie's not happening. At that point, they would just, go back to the drawing board and just restart or something, but or explore the franchise in a different way. Um, Sammy T. What are your thoughts on the Avatar films? I figured I asked since they are also a film series with outstanding motion capture effects. Yes, they are. Yes, they are. I really like the first Avatar. I think it's a great movie. I don't get all the hate that some of it gets. I get under thinking it's overrated, but it doesn't deserve the hate it gets. The second one I think is phenomenal. I love Avatar: Way of Water, and I cannot wait for Fire and Ash. I'm excited to see the trailer, which I think drops soon. I heard it was going to drop a few weeks ago, and it didn't, so I'm hopeful to see it soon. But yeah, I'm really big fan of the Avatar movies. I think they do a great job. James Cameron is amazing. He's, one of the greatest directors of all time, at least in terms of blockbuster filmmaking. So, yeah. From Maya McNamara, I heard Matt Reeves, the director of Dawn, might direct. Well, that entirely depends on if he ends up directing Batman Part 2. That being said, even if he doesn't, if that's a whole other drama that's going on. But if, say, Matt Reeves ultimately drops out of Batman Part 2, which I do think is actually very possible, not just possible, I actually think it's likely, but if he does drop out of Batman Part 2, yeah, it would be cool. It's definitely a possibility he could come back and direct the next Apes movie, but I don't know if he would want to. Based on everything I've heard, and again, I'm not one of these insiders. I don't know like what's actually happening with Matt Reeves, but I know it sounds like stuff. The reason all these Batman delays have happened is because of something personal going on in his life. Some sort of, I don't know if it's like a medical thing or an illness or it's some sort of family thing, I assume. So, whatever that is going to take precedent over any movies, whether it's Batman or Planet of the Apes. So, I assume that if he does not direct Batman, he's not going to be in a rush to jump in to take the reins of another franchise that needs a movie out in 2027. I don't think that's going to happen. So, it would be great. I'd love Matt Reeves to come back and direct a Planet of the Apes movie because he's made 2 of the best ones ever, and he's a phenomenal filmmaker. But I just don't think it's going to happen. I love it, but probably not. From Bookworm Dazzle, yeah, I know they shouldn't rush it, but at the same time, we're not getting any younger over here. Yeah, I agree. I agree. I don't want them to rush this movie. I don't want them. So ultimately, if this movie takes 4 years to get, if it's a 4 year gap between movies, so be it. If we get into 5, 6, 7 year gap territory, then it's like, what are we doing here? But 4 years, that's fine. Um, But yeah, I definitely agree. I'm hopeful that we'll hear some news at some point in the near future, and if we do, that'll be really exciting because I do want to know what's going on with the next movie. David Arellano, I forgot about Blade. Didn't we all? I think we all forgot about Blade at this point because it was announced like 5 or 6 or 7 years ago. So I think most people have forgotten that movie at one point was coming. I guarantee it's not coming now. But um Kiki, Isa, and investing all their money on Avatar properly. Ooh, maybe did you have another comment that I missed? Oh, yeah, you did. Sorry. Disney is focusing on Marvel and Predator and Alien movies now, I fear, and investing all their money on Avatar probably. Not necessarily. I don't think that's necessarily true. I mean, I think it's just that's where they're focused on when it comes to the Fox properties. That's, what they're focusing on right now because those are the movies they have on the docket. Those are the ones they have that are in production. But no, I don't. I think apes is still, a priority. It was a priority when they bought Fox, and it was a priority when they were getting Kingdom made. So, yeah, I think it's just a matter of wanting to make sure they get the scripts done first before they move forward with anything. Um, from Andre Oliveira, if we don't get anything before September, No Way comes out in 2027. I don't necessarily think that's the case. I think the hard deadline for me is like February of next year, maybe January of next year. I think if like they announce next January that a director is taking over and they start filming next, let's say early May, early summer next year for a release in November of 2027, I think that's perfectly feasible. I think it's realistic. But anything beyond that, then yeah, I'm kind of with you. I think probably January of next year is the deadline for when this could getting announcements when anything could actually come out in 2027 realistically. But like I said, I think we're gonna get something before then. I just have a feeling. Yeah, I hope I'm not wrong. I hope I'm not wrong. I could be wrong, and I've been wrong before, but I hope I'm not wrong. Will Hittinger, what's your favorite Fast and Furious movie? Fast Five, by far. It's to me the only one, not the only one, but it's the best one by far. It's the one that in kind of it reinvented the franchise. To be honest, I'm not a huge fan of the Fast and Furious franchise. I think the first one is fine, second one is bad, third one is fine, fourth one's okay, and five completely reinvented the franchise and made it into a really fun action heist thriller, over the top spectacle thing, and I think they did a great job at achieving that. And then they did it again with Fast and Furious 6. Seven was it's just unfortunate what happened with Paul Walker. But yeah, I think there's a better movie in there, but they couldn't really control what they had to work with. But yeah, five is by far my favorite. It's easily the one that is the embodiment of the best elements of the franchise to me. Um, Hosea XCI, what movies are you looking forward to this year? Well, off the top of my head, Superman is probably my most anticipated movie the rest of the year. I cannot wait to see that movie. The trailer that dropped a few weeks ago was fantastic. I'm really excited. I think James Gunn's a great director. I'm excited to see what he does with it. Like I said, Avatar is one I'm looking forward to. Weapons, Zach Kreger's Weapons is a movie. Haven't watched the trailer. Don't know anything about it. All I know is it's about like kids or something getting taken. I don't know really what the plot is, but all I know is from the director of Barbarian, Zach Kreger, and Barbarian was like my number one or two favorite movie of 2022, and so I am just so excited about anything this guy makes now. So whenever Weapons comes out, I'm gonna be there in the theater. I don't need to see a single trailer for it. But yeah. Oh, and also two others. 28 years later, I've been waiting for a 28 days later, like a proper 28 days later sequel for like ever because that's my favorite zombie movie. And The Long Walk. Didn't know anything about The Long Walk until I saw that trailer that dropped a few weeks ago, and now I cannot wait for it. It looks really, really, really good. Um, from Matt, my biggest concern is that they aren't sure about what the sequels are going to look like, and we may have to wait another 7 years for a Planet of the Apes film. I don't think so. I don't think they don't know what they're going to look like. I mean, Wes Ball even said as much as that they talked about what the next movie could be when they were working on Kingdom. And so they definitely know the direction they're going. It's just a matter of, I guess, filling in the finer details and shaping the overall story. Because I think they do know where they want to go. They just probably haven't mapped out full character arcs and all that kind of stuff yet. But they definitely had ideas for where they wanted to go and general outlines of some sort. And if they didn't then, they probably do now. So I don't think we're going to have to wait 7 years. Because, to be honest, if we have to wait 7 years, the sequel to Kingdom isn't going to be a sequel to Kingdom. It's going to be just a full on different take on Planet of the Apes in some way. So I don't think it's going to take that long, but who knows? From Sammy T, in your personal opinion, what do you think happened to all the dogs and cats in this Planet of the Apes continuity? That's a good question. It's never really been addressed, and we haven't seen dogs and cats in Dawn, War, or Kingdom. So I mean, it's safe to assume they're wiped out. I don't know. I mean, maybe the virus just took them out as well. Maybe it completely wiped them out. It would be something I'd want to like someone to address because now I'm thinking about it, it really hasn't ever been addressed in any way. So I don't know. I mean, my ultimate guess is just the ALZ virus spread and killed most of them. Maybe we just haven't. Maybe some of them are still around. We just haven't seen them. So I don't know. From See You Later, Boy. Any particular tone or genre you're hoping for the next movie? Lots of action, horror vibes, romantic, drama. Um, honestly, I would just like to see it be a bit grander, and be a bit deeper. I think take a lot of inspiration. Don't copy Dawn, but I think they should take a lot of inspiration from Dawn. Dawn of the Planet of the Apes. You look at the transition from Rise to Dawn, and Rise is a much smaller movie in scale, and Dawn is much bigger. It feels more epic. It feels more mythic. And I think, and they were already kind of on that track with Kingdom. Kingdom already has a bit of a mythic feel to it. And I think just double down on that, really dive into that and make it feel a bit bigger. But also, now that we've established the world, maybe you don't need to spend the first hour of the movie just exploring and introducing things. We can kind of dive right into things. So, but as far as like genre, I don't know. I mean, I'm always up for more, bringing some thriller and horror elements into sci-fi just because that's my bread and butter. So I would love to see them bring a bit more intensity, a bit more darkness to it, not to the level of War. War is like grim. War is depressing. And it's not a bad thing necessarily, but I would love to see them bring a little more darkness, a little more intensity and kind of a thriller element to it if they can. Um, Will Hittinger, do you think Ben Affleck might come back to Batman? Not a chance in hell. There's zero chance he ever. Playing Batman almost killed him and sent him into spiraling alcoholism, which I've read interviews with him about, and it's just that his time playing that character, I'm not exaggerating, almost killed him. So there's no way he's ever going to play Batman again. And honestly, he shouldn't because his health should come first. And as much as I thought he was great in the role, I think he's a great director. He's a great writer. He's a great producer. And he's a great actor that can do other stuff for the next, 30, 40 years of his career. So I think he should just move on and never touch comic book movies again, to be honest with you. Unless it's like a small role in like, a future DC or Marvel movie or something. But no, really just shouldn't. Um, Larry, Andrew Stanton should direct the next Planet of the Apes movie. Andrew Stanton, that's a Pixar director, right? I think he did. I'm trying to remember what he did. I want to say he did not Cars. He did not The Incredibles. What did he direct? I know he directed John Carter, didn't he? Yeah, he did. Oh, okay, okay, yeah. Oh, okay. Director of Finding Nemo, which is my favorite Pixar movie. That automatically signed me up for that. Although I will say his experience with live action is pretty limited, really just to John Carter as far as I can see. I don't see any other movies he's directed in live action. Doesn't necessarily mean he can't do it. I just don't know if that would be a fit for him because that movie was over 10 years ago, or actually over how long ago was that? Over 13 years ago. So I don't know necessarily if he's a good fit, but he's a great director. He's done some really great work with Pixar. Toy Story 2, Finding Nemo. So Wally, he's a really good animated director. So I don't know if that skill set would necessarily transfer, but he's a great filmmaker. So if they were to announce it tomorrow, I wouldn't be upset about it. Um, um, let's see here. More Ape on Ape. Said the player happen. Sorry, I'm just looking for another comment to bring up. Here we go. I don't know if we'll get another movie in 2027, but I hope that we get just something: an anime, a video game, a cookbook, a Planet of the Apes cookbook. What would that even? I genuinely question. What? Give me your suggestions. What would be in a Planet of the Apes cookbook? Because now I'm actually curious. That's actually really funny. Just something like that to get the blood flowing. I agree. I agree completely. I think once they know what the next movie's going to be, they will probably work on some additional content to give us in the meantime. Maybe whether that's like a prequel novel or a prequel comic or, a mini series on Disney, like a 6 episode show on Disney Plus or something. I don't know. But I definitely think we'll probably get something at some point in the next year and a half or so of some sort. Well, maybe I'm completely wrong, but if not, we can just wait for the movie. But I agree. I would hope we would get something. From Larry, which franchise do you prefer, Alien or Predator? Alien by far. I think Alien is a much better franchise. And the thing is, I don't even love either of them. But Alien, Aliens, and Alien Romulus, I think are all fantastic, like genuinely fantastic movies. I think Alien is one of the all-time great horror movies. I think it's a little dated in some of its effects, but it's still the tension that Ridley Scott brings to that movie and the performance of Sigourney Weaver is just so good. And even what's his name? What is the actor who plays the character whose name I don't remember? John Hurt. John Hurt in that movie, I think, is incredible for his 10 minutes of screen time. But yeah, it's a really really great movie, and or not John Hurt, Ian Holm. Um, and so um, yeah, I think Alien's a really great franchise when it's at its best. When it's at its worst, you get movies like Alien 4, or not, whatever it's called. Not Requiem. That's Alien vs Predator. Alien 3, I don't like, and Alien Resurrection. I think it's what I call it. Maybe I'm wrong. Is that what they call it? Yeah, Alien Resurrection, the Joss Whedon one. Yeah, that one's not good. So, um, and I'm not really big on the Prometheus or Alien um, what's the Prometheus sequel called? Um, I don't remember what it's called, but the sequel to Prometheus, I didn't really care for that either. So, but when it comes to Predator, I'm not a big. I know this is sacrilegious to say. I'm not really a big fan of the original Predator. It's fine. Like it's a perfectly fine '80s action movie with a bunch of '80s action stuff, but it doesn't stick with me. Predator 2 is just more of the same, but amped up to 11. Just more '80s stuff, more super cheesy '80s action. I really liked Predators, the one with the guy who just won an Oscar. I'm sorry, guys. I'm completely blanking on actors' names today. Um, Adrian Brody. That movie. I actually really liked that one. I didn't see the one that came out a few years ago, but I saw Prey and I loved Prey. Prey is the first Predator movie I actually genuinely really like. I think it's like a really really great movie. So I'm looking forward to Badlands. It looks really good. So, but yeah, easily Alien. It's just a better franchise. See you later, boy. I'll be as patient as possible. I remember hearing there were no plans at all of continuing Apes after war, but here we are. Exactly. Franchise and fan base fully revived and eager for more. I totally agree. Just I remember back in 2000, I guess it would have been 2008, 2009. Just finding out that we were getting a new Planet of the Apes movie after I'd only freshly gotten into the franchise, and that must have been, I guess I was like 14 or something at the time. And so I remember just then being grateful that we were getting a new movie. And I never in a million years would have thought that back then that it would still be going on almost 15 years later. So it really is amazing that we still have this franchise ongoing. And not only is it ongoing, it's arguably better than it's ever been. And so these four movies we've gotten in the last, decade plus, I think have been a real treat for Planet of the Apes fans. Um, Sammy T, do you think Andy Serkis will ever play a character in the Avatar films? I mean, out of all the film franchises, do you think Avatar would be one of those films Andy would motion capture in? Yeah, I think you would do it. To be honest, though, I think he'd probably be more likely to play a motion capture character. I mean, it's Avatar and he's Andy Serkis. Come to think of it, though, it is actually surprising he isn't already in one of them. Um, I don't know if he's ever worked with James Cameron, but yeah, I'm actually very surprised he isn't already in Avatar 2 or 3 or 4 because I think they already filmed parts of 4. But yeah, I I think if he's gonna be in an Avatar movie, it's gonna be in a actual like motion capture role. So, um, Andre Oliveira, have you watched Andor? Yes and no. So I've seen all of season. I love season one. Season one of Andor is my favorite Star Wars thing since Empire Strikes Back. I genuinely think it is one of the most well-made things in the Star Wars universe ever. Season two, I messed up with watching it. So I should have gone back and rewatched season one because I did not really think about just how much happened in season one. I started season two, and the problem with season two is I kind of got a little behind because when it came out, I had some personal stuff going on in my life. So I was like a week late. So by the time I started watching episode one of season two, there were already 6 episodes out. And I started watching it. And within the first episode, I was like, oh, I should have rewatched season one because I am forgetting a lot about who these characters are and what was going on in the story and all that stuff. So I thought about going back, stopping, and then going back and rewatching season one, but I just kind of started going forward. Watched episode two and three, really enjoyed them, but I was a little kind of just, you know, I just, to be honest, I was just a little bit lost because I forgot so much stuff that happened in season one. And I loved season one, but it's 12 episodes, and I haven't seen it since it aired, 3 years ago. So then I watched episode four, and I was like, and the other problem was I just don't have a whole lot of time to dedicate to television sometimes, and especially if they're releasing them in 3 episode chunks. So by the time I'm getting to episode four and five, they're already at episode seven, eight, nine are out. And also, I'm watching them separated by like a week and a half to 2 weeks at a time and broken up between like episode one and two, and then three, and then four and five, and then six. And so it was just getting hard to really stick to. So I decided to take a break from it, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to go back, and I'm actually in the process of watching Star Wars with my girlfriend for the first time right now. We've watched the first 6 original movies. Next up, we're going to do Andor season one, then season two, and that'll be the first time watching it for me, and for her. So that'll be kind of our first thing we watch for the first time together, which is really cool. And then we're going to watch Rogue One, and then we'll go from there. But yeah, I haven't seen all of season two yet, but I did enjoy bits and pieces of what I saw. I had a hard time keeping up because I was just so far behind, and also I was watching it too spaced out. So I'm looking forward to watching season two properly very soon. Um, from Daniel Rummage, are you an amazing Spider-Man movie fan? Oh, oh boy, no, I'm not. I I don't hate those movies. But I am in the camp that really, really strongly is opposed to a lot of the decisions made in those movies. Some of them I don't fault like the writers and the story choices. A lot of it I just fault Sony for doing their usual Sony Spider-Man nonsense. But those movies are the definition of wasted potential. I think Andrew Garfield, he's not my favorite Spider-Man, but he is a phenomenal actor, and I think he had the potential to be not just the best Spider-Man, but I think the definitive Spider-Man. And for some of you, I'm sure he is. I mean, yeah, for a lot of people, he is the fan favorite Spider-Man. But for me, just the way the character was written, especially in the first movie, um, and in some degrees, I think they kind of fixed some things about him in the second movie, but they also made something worse in the second movie. And I didn't, and also it comes from just a very personal thing for me. Like to me, I grew up with that old school 1960s Steve Ditko era Spider-Man Peter Parker, whereas Amazing Spider-Man pulls a lot more from the modern ultimate interpretations of Peter Parker, which just have never connected with me. But maybe that's just a personal thing, that's a nostalgia thing, that's a stubbornness thing. I don't know, but for multiple reasons, I just don't think they're very good movies. I think the first one's a better movie overall. It just the problem with it is it's a lot of it just been there, done that. When I've already seen this version done better with Sam Raimi's Spider-Man. So, but yeah, I'm not a fan of those movies. I think there's a lot of wasted potential. There's great scenes in them. There's great moments in them. There's great action bits. There's great actors throughout them, but overall, just not a big fan. Um, I'm salty. Oh no. Yeah. Bookworm Dazzle. I'm salty we got no Kingdom of the Planet of the Apes merch, no Funkos, not even kids stickers, and you can find at the dollar store. Yeah. Um, I guess I mean the truth is Planet of the Apes, as much as it is a very well regarded franchise, it's not a super marketable franchise. Like it's not a franchise that you go in and see t-shirts and Funkos and action figures of. It was back in the day, back in like the 60s and 70s, but excuse me. Today it's just not that franchise. Part of it is just because it does skew a bit older. It's not aimed. The original movies came out, and 8, 9, 10 year olds went to see them. Whereas now I feel like, at least with movies like Dawn and War, it's a bit more for like 12 and up, and they don't necessarily buy merch. I mean, it's also just a generational thing. Like buying toys and buying merch of a movie isn't and stickers and stuff like it's not even a thing that a lot of people, especially young people, do today. At least as far as I can tell. So that's just part of it. It's just it's just a multitude of different things. Um, from George, I'm gonna butcher your last name. I'm so sorry. Hadjipateras. I hope I got that right. Another Superman movie, another Avatar, no originality except 28 years later. Well, 28 years later is not original as well. But no, I mean, I get what you're saying, but those are just some of the ones that, out of the top of my most anticipated. There's tons of other movies. This is a whole other conversation I can get into, but there's like statistically speaking, there is way more original movies coming out this year than unoriginal movies, and like franchise and sequels and reboots. They're just not the ones that are like at the top of my list because most of them I haven't heard about yet, and they are movies that aren't going to be announced or given a release date until like September. But there are others, that I'm looking forward to. Like, let me see here. One Battle After Another, the Leonardo DiCaprio movie. I'm excited to see. Caught Stealing. I forgot who's directing that. Who is it? Darren Aronofsky. Yeah, I'm looking forward to that one. Um, there is a movie that came out a while ago that I actually didn't get a chance to see, but I'm really wanting to see it. Companion, with Sophie Thatcher, that I really wanted to see. I'm gonna check that out on streaming when I get a chance. So there's original movies coming out all the time. There's dozens more I didn't even name right there, but yeah, there's tons of original movies. Those are just the ones that stuck out to me, and those are the ones I'm most excited for because they're part of IP that I'm excited about. So there you go. Let me see here. From See You Later, but War is the hardest to rewatch. I agree with that. I agree with that. Although I will say, there's an element of War that's fun. Obviously, it's not a movie you think of when you think of fun movies, but there's an adventure to it. Just getting to see Caesar and Maurice and Rocket going on this quest. It's the first of these modern movies to really be very ape centric. Like the first two are very ape centric, of course, but War is like, you know, there's no real human characters that are fleshed out or explored in that movie until halfway through the movie. And that's the first one to do it. Whereas in Dawn, it's like we get introduced to Malcolm and his crew 20 minutes in. So, um, there's kind of an explorer adventure element to it that I'm excited about that always gets me wanting to rewatch it. That's fun. But yeah, I get what you're saying. It's a very dark movie. It's a very depressing movie. So, um, All right, what time is it now? Okay. I'm gonna do probably like 4 or 5 more questions, and then I'm gonna wrap things up for tonight. But I just want to say again, thank you guys for joining me. So I really appreciate you joining me for a live. I think it's a lot of fun. I'm excited to do more of these. I know you guys wanted me to do these, so um, that's why I want to start doing these on a regular basis. I don't know when or I don't know how often I'm going to do these. I might probably do them like once a month, maybe like every 2 or 3 weeks. But yeah, if there's and also if there's any like topics of discussion that you guys really want me to make like a main topic, I can do that. So that'll be up to you guys. But yeah, I'm looking forward to doing these. These are fun. Let me find another. Okay. Sammy T. Maybe Gareth Edwards could do the Planet of the Apes movies. I mean, the man is a professional when it comes to the visual effects. I mean, look at Godzilla and the creator. Yeah, so when I made my directors who I would want to see do a Planet of the Apes movie video, he is one of the top choices I had, and that is exactly why. I think Gareth Edwards is, well, you can look at the stories in some of his movies and go, they're not the strongest. I think The Creator is great. I loved that movie. I really, really did. And he didn't write it. He directed it, but he didn't write it. And so if you have that, you have Josh Friedman and Rick Jaffa and Amanda Silver joining forces again to, do the story, and Gareth Edwards directs. I think for that exact reason, it would be a great fit. I think you'd have a filmmaker that understands the tone of what Planet of the Apes should be. I think you have a filmmaker that would be able to make a movie for a, not too big of a budget that looks incredible. He's worked with performance capture characters before with The Creator and with Rogue One. And so I think he'd be a great fit. I know not everybody loves him. I know some people aren't a big fan of him, but I think he's a really good director, and I would like to see his take on Planet of the Apes if it were to get announced. Mm, from Jade Dinosaur, I made Bananas Foster for when I had a Planet of the Apes marathon with some friends recently. If no one here has ever had Bananas Foster, go make that immediately. Yum. I've never had Bananas Foster. Truthfully, I'm actually not a big fan of bananas, but I will give it a shot if you recommend it. That's a good. I feel like that's a good snack for Planet of the Apes. That's fun, tongue in cheek there, but yeah, it's really fun. That's also awesome that you had a Planet of the Apes marathon. Um, and let's see here. Um, okay, I'll do this one. From Larry, why do you think the DCEU failed and what went wrong and they should have stayed with and wait, why do you think the DCU failed and what went wrong? And should they have stayed with Snyder Plan and hope and and should they have stayed with Snyder Plan? I have hope in James. And do you have hope in James's DCU? So why it failed? I mean, how much time do you have? Um, no, the truth is it failed for a multitude of reasons. You had, and this is, I don't want to get into the whole Zack Snyder of it all, just because I know that's a whole can of worms that doesn't need to be opened. But you had a filmmaker that made a movie that some people loved and some people hated, and it was very different to what Superman has always been. And it led to an even more divisive sequel with Batman vs Superman. And at that point, it was kind of just doomed to fail. At that point, they kind of just started making movies that kind of connected, kind of didn't, were sort of in the universe if you wanted it to be. And at that point, it just became a big bloated mess of movies to varying degrees in quality. I think Shazam is great. I thought the first Wonder Woman was great. Um, and I really liked James Gunn's Suicide Squad. But overall, And also, to be honest, I actually really like Man of Steel. Man of Steel is a movie that I have mixed feelings on in some aspects, but overall, it's a really good movie. So it's just ultimately the movies didn't do that well enough to really warrant continuing to make them. The audience really was just giving up on caring, and that is what led to where we are now. And I'm excited for James Gunn's DCU. I think truthfully he just cares and understands these characters in this universe more than Zack Snyder did. And I know that might be a rub some people the wrong way to say it, but I think he just does. From what I've seen, I think he gets what makes these characters pop and what people love about them in the source material. So, yeah, I'm excited to see what he does. I'm excited for Superman. I'm excited to see what comes of it. I'm not crazy about, you know, announcing all of these different things already, but I we'll see where it goes. I know that's just the world we live in now, where you have to announce 7 movies and 3 TV shows every 2 years just to make shareholders happy. But I wish we could just, announce a movie and then go from there. But that's just not the world we live in. From Brandon Rakoski, this may be covered in your a little in your fan cast, but how would you readapt the original with the hindsight of the past 50 years? Oof. Honestly, I can't answer that just off the top of my head. That's something I have to really sit down and think about, and something I actually would like to do a video on someday. But how would I readapt it? I mean, you'd obviously have to take into account, the last, like you said, 50 years of our world history, bringing a lot of that into the table. You'd have to adapt to more modern filmmaking trends. You'd have to adapt to what the current Apes universe is, with these 4 movies we got, and plus whatever we get next. And so I don't know necessarily how I would readapt it, but I know definitely I would want to do it from the apes perspective. I don't know how exactly that would go, but I think you just have to shift the perspective to that of the apes. I just don't, and maybe there is a way you can shift it to being about the humans and making the apes the villains, which would be a change, but that's not necessarily what people want from these modern apes movies. So I don't know, but I think that's the ultimate thing for me is I would want to see a perspective change. I would want to see the original story told from the perspective of the apes. What that entails, I don't know, but that's just what I really want to see. Um, let's see here. All right, I'm gonna do. Let's see if I can find any more like apes related ones, and then I'll close out here. Um, I'm more curious about this one. David Arolano. I mean, if they did a Jurassic World cookbook, perhaps a Planet of the Apes cookbook could work. Did they do a Jurassic World cookbook? Is that a real thing? I'm gonna look that up right now because I that's hilarious if they actually did that. Jurassic World cookbook. Oh my god, are you serious? Jurassic World, the official cookbook? Wow, that's a real thing. Wow, that's I love that. I actually, honestly, I don't like those movies at all, but I would buy that just to see what fun things I can make out of that. That's fun. That's yeah. You know what? You're completely right. If they could do that with Jurassic, then yeah, they could totally do a Planet of the Apes cookbook. Um, what's your stance on it when it comes to remakes, good and bad? I mean, honestly, that's a much broader topic that I could go into, but just in general, I have no problem with remakes. What I do have a problem with, and this is not exactly what you asked, but I have a problem more with the current state of, you know, how people talk about remakes. You have a lot of people that constantly say, oh, anytime they see a remake announced, they go, oh, Hollywood's out of original ideas. Hollywood's not making anything. That's creative. It's all remakes. It's all sequels. Yet the remakes do well. Lilo and Stitch just this past weekend, which I have not seen and I have no interest in seeing because I love the original and I just am not interested in seeing a worse version of a good movie. So, but that movie made like $400 million. So people keep going to see them, yet they say they don't want them. So there's a disconnect there. But beyond that, yeah, I have no problem with them existing. You know, I think there's been some great remakes. I mean, even not great remakes. I think Tim Burton's Planet of the Apes, it's not a great movie, but I appreciate some things about it. I appreciate them doing a modern practical effects heavy Planet of the Apes movie. I appreciate a lot of elements of it, but yeah, it's just sometimes they work, sometimes they don't. Sometimes they're made in good faith, sometimes they're made to cash in on an IP. It just depends on the movie. Um, Bookworm Dazzle, how did you feel after the live stream with Wes Ball? I had a lot of fun chatting live with my Discord friends. I had a lot of fun. I will say, um, I hope you guys didn't see it, but there were like multiple technical malfunctions that happened that I had to scramble and hide and fix during the live stream. So if you didn't notice that, then I guess I did my job well. But I felt great. I think it was a really fun chat. Wes gave us some new updates, and it was fun to talk to him and pick his brain and just get his commentary on the movie. And you all guys got to have your chance to talk to him as well, and so that was really fun. Just for me, it was more just about making sure I kept everything under control and didn't let everything get too unruly. And I hope I did that. I feel like I did that to at least the best of my ability. So yeah, but it was fun. It was fun. Um, let's see here. Sammy T. My biggest fear for Planet of the Apes is if they get Michael Bay to direct. If they did, then you would know he would immediately add in explosions and sexualized female apes. You're not wrong. You're not wrong. You're probably not wrong. I'm not a big Michael Bay fan, but you're probably not wrong. So that is one of many reasons he probably should not direct Planet of the Apes. If he was announced to do Planet of the Apes, I would be worried. I'll just say that. I'll just say that. So, with all that said, guys, this was fun. I appreciate all your questions, all your comments. I don't know when I'm going to do another one of these. It'll probably be sometime. Let me look here. Probably in like mid to late June is the next time I'm going to do one of these. It could be, I don't know what my topic's going to be. I don't know what we'll talk about then, but yeah, I want to make sure I want to try to start doing these, once every month or so, maybe even a little more frequently than that. Maybe, if you guys, um, or if there's, even some more channel growth once I get a little bit bigger and more people are watching the lives, I might do them more often, maybe like once a week or once every other week or something. But yeah, I'm really excited about stuff I have coming up for you guys. I hope that you are excited as well. I'm eager to get to work on a lot of the stuff. The what ifs are going to be fun. The fan cast is going to be. I hope it's going to be fun for you guys, and some of these reviews and other stuff I want to cover. And there's some other stuff that I haven't announced. I might announce it next month. I just had to finalize some stuff about dates, when certain things are coming, but it's not going to be like interviews or stuff, although that could be coming at some point in the later future too. But yeah, I'm really excited about stuff going on with the channel. I hope you guys are too. And with all that down, I just want to say thank you all once again for joining me and checking out today's live stream here on Ape Nation. If you liked this video, be sure to hit the like button down below. You can also, and for all of you who are in the Discord, you'll appreciate this, you can join the Discord for daily discussions on Planet of the Apes. We have a lot of fun in there. A lot of you guys that are in this chat right now are in that Discord server, and you're all having great conversations every day. It's a lot of fun. So if you want to join the Ape Nation Discord, the link is on the channel. You can just join it and start talking away about anything you want with Planet of the Apes. But if you're interested in seeing more of my videos, be sure to hit the subscribe button on my channel and hit the notification bell so that you can stay up to date on all things apes. I'll see you in the next one. So until then, goodbye.